Next, and we'll take a look at step 2, where we actually determine what information will be exported. So for this, we're going to choose out of the 6 options up top, mail merge / export. That's what this whole day is about today in this webinar. So we select mail merge export, and then we have a drop-down list here, which as we go along and create exports, they'll show up in this list. So we haven't created any yet in this sample data, and so that's why the list is blank. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this new button to create a new export. And I'm going to call this addresses, because that's what we're going to be exporting. So whenever you're naming your exports, keep in mind that you're just naming a blank template that could be used with any combination of search criteria from step 1. This is just going to save what information is included in the export. And once you click OK on your name, this column selector window is going to pop up. And it's going to start us off with a few things on the visible column side to begin with. The visible columns here on the right is what will be included in the export. The available columns on the left are anything you could possibly want to include on your export. All of the different fields from the membership records. And they're grouped into these little headings. So the blue text that you see here, those are headings, and you can click the little plus beside them to expand all of the information. With the addresses, we have several different choices. I'm taking a look at specifically the family main address right now. But if you have folks who have alternate addresses, like you see here in the list, you could use the current as of today address choice. And that would select, based on today's date, whichever address is applicable for the families that have alternate addresses. To add these items to the right side of the screen are visible columns which will appear on the report. We can either double click and they move over. You can single click so it's highlighted and then click the arrow button to move it over. And to select a bunch of different ones, you can hold down the Control key on your keyboard and click multiple choices to add all at the same time. And if something is clicked and you realize you don't need it, like actually I don't need country, so I can unclick it by continuing to hold down Control, and then I click the arrow and all of those move over. And if they end up in an order that you don't want, like how my zip code is in between these lines of the address, I can move it down using the arrows over here on the far right side of the screen. So once you've got all of the information selected that you want to be included on this export, you click OK down at the bottom and we're back in the Step 2 screen. Now, if you want to make any changes to an already created layout, all you need to do is click the Select Fields button, and that brings the column selector back up. Let's say I realized I want to add a phone number as well. I can come to this phone section here, phone and email fields, and I can add the primary phone for the family if I wanted to do that. Then we turn our attention to the top right corner here where it says Export Options. This box next to the word File shows where on your computer it's going to save this export. And if you want to change that location, you just press the little button with the 3 dots right here. And that takes you to a file browser for your computer where you can navigate. And I'm going to save it to my desktop. And this is also where you could change the name of the file so that it's something more specific. Like let's call this February 2019 mail merge. And then all I need to do is click open. And now it's changed that location and put in my new title that I wanted. Below the file, we can select either tab or comma for the delimiter. That just determines whether the file will be saved as a TXT file if you choose tab, or a CSV file if you choose comma. Either one will give you the same list of people. It's just about how it separates that data. And either tab or comma will both work for a mail merge and for opening up the list in a different program. So you have the choice between the two. Typically, if you want to use Excel, comma works a bit better, but again, both will work. Then we have checkboxes here. If you have birthdays included on your export, you can decide whether or not you want the year included for either everyone, or if you check this box, only for children. We don't have birthdays on this particular export, so we don't need to worry about that. And then the export name could be changed here as well instead of up here. So those are two different places where you could change the name of your export. If you wanted to remove any people from this export, you could uncheck their name from this list. Otherwise, at this point, you're good to go and you can click the export button down at the bottom of the screen. It lets us know that it's been created, and it asks us if we'd like to open that folder. You can say yes if you want to go to the folder where it saved it, or you can say no, and you can go there yourself. So I said no, and if I minimize my church windows, here on my desktop I have that February 2019 mail merge that I created. And if I open it up, you can see when it opens in Notepad, it's kind of just a bunch of smushed up data. But if you're using it as an actual merge into another program, it will be the correct format for that import into whatever document you might be merging with. Back in the Select Field screen, I also wanted to point out the export column header here. This is what will appear at the top of each column for the file. If you look at an Excel spreadsheet as opposed to a Notepad file at the top of the columns, these are what would display. So you could remove the current as of today portion, for example, and then it would be a little bit less clunky on your export. Christine has asked if we can take a look at the data in Excel. I'm not sure that we have Excel on this computer. It doesn't appear that we do. So unfortunately, that's a third-party program that I don't have access to on this computer, so I can't show you what it looks like in Excel, but It would look like any other Excel file. The list of names would be one column, and then beside that, the last names, then beside that, the addresses, and so on and so forth. That wraps up everything for the mail merge topic. If you have questions, get those typed in and I'll answer them. Otherwise, if you don't have any questions, you can go ahead and sign off. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to stick around for another 5 or 10 minutes to answer any questions that come in. Most of the questions coming in at this point are asking about what to do with it once it's out of Church Windows, and that is not something I'm going to be able to help you with because we are Church Windows. We are not Microsoft Office or Publisher or Excel. And so the part, once you've got it out of Church Windows, it's kind of out of our hands at that point. And the other programs that you want to bring it into, they should have their own training and tutorials explaining how to use their software to do something with data once you've got it out of Church Windows.